Welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Ollie Hayes, and today I'm bringing you a roundup of all today's news headlines in the world of Everton. So let's get straight into it with the main headline news today. And Mark Douglas has reported that Everton are set to step up their interest in Wilfred Gnonto from Leeds United after the completion of the Jesper Lindstrom transfer from Napoli. There's been a lot of speculation around this one in the last couple of days and weeks around these two players, if one would join and the other wouldn't, or would Everton go for both players at the same time. That's now been confirmed that Everton will step up their interest after the Lindstrom transfer has been completed. So that's definitely a positive. I'm very happy about this one personally, about us stepping up our interest in Gnonto. We're finally injecting powerful runners, pace into our side, something that we've lacked for so many seasons now. You do look at our winger situation with Dwight McNeil and Jack Harrison. They're not exactly the quickest wingers in the world. So the fact that we're going after the profile of player of Lindstrom or Wilfred Gnonto is definitely positive to see. And it's going to be exciting to see if we get this one over the line. I'm hoping that Leeds will, be fair with their negotiations. We saw last season about how long the Wilfred Gnonto saga lasted last summer. So hopefully we can get this one resolved a little bit sooner than we did last season. But it's definitely a positive for me of seeing Wilfred Gnonto being linked and seeing that we're going to step up our interest even after the Lindstrom transfer has been completed. So that's the main headline for today. Mark Douglas has also reported that Dominic Calvert-Lewin is still potentially may sign his new contract at Everton. The interest from Chelsea, AC Milan, and Newcastle, which had been reported in recent weeks and months, seems to be dwindling now. There doesn't seem to be a lot of interest in Dominic Calvert-Lewin in terms of a transfer away from the club this summer. Obviously, that could change so quickly. We know how much the transfer window changes, and we know how quickly players can move on from Everton Football Club. That has to be said. But Mark Douglas does report today that the new contract for Dominic Calvert-Lewin is still on the table. It still could be signed by Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So that's an interesting one. We wanted to gauge your opinions as well. And 62% of you want Dominic Calvert-Lewin to pen that new deal, with 38% of you thinking we should cash in and sell him this summer. I think I'd be happy to sell him. If a correct replacement was bought in, if a replacement that we could go like for like with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who would fit into a Sean Dyche system, I think I'd be happy to sell Dominic Calvert-Lewin in that instance. But if we were to sell him and not have a proper replacement and a proper player to come in straight away, I wouldn't see the point. But again, we don't want to lose an asset in Dominic Calvert-Lewin on a free next summer. So it does beg the question. A decision is going to have to be made this summer. Hopefully he does the decision for us and pens the new deal. I think that's what the majority of Evertonians want to see. But if he doesn't pen that new deal and Kevin Thelwell has to make a decision, I think it will probably be the right decision to sell him this summer, cash in on any money that we can get from him and try and reinvest it into the squad. But that was your opinions on that. Mark Douglas also reports that Armando Broja would be a potential suitor for that replacement for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, with the Chelsea striker being interested in the move himself. Again, we wanted to gauge your opinions on this one. He seems like a divisive figure, Armando Broja, and a lot of Everton fans seem to like him. A lot of Everton fans don't want to see him to go anywhere near him in terms of transfers. So 30% of you were in favour of him joining, 25% were unsure, and 45% were against. For me, I think there's definitely a player in there. We saw it in his first loan spell with Southampton all those years ago. He was a player that looked like he was Premier League ready. He didn't really set the world alight with Fulham last season, did he? He seemed to struggle to get in that team. He was a player that didn't really get a lot of opportunities under Marco Silva at Fulham. So I think, if he was to have a proper run in a team, say if he was to replace Dominic Calvert-Lewin like for like, I'd hope to see a better Armando Broja. He had that horrible injury, didn't he, just before the World Cup in 2022 with that horrible ACL injury. So players always do take a while to come back from that. But for me, I think if he's a player that does come in, I'd get behind him. He'd have my full support. He's the right profile of player. It's just whether we can see him unlock that potential that we know he has. That begs to be. That begs the question. But I want to get your opinions now, Blues. Let me know in the comments who's your ideal Dominic Calvert-Lewin replacement. There's been so many names touted around in the last few weeks, but I want to know your ideal replacement for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And finally, on transfer news, Fabrizio Romano has uttered the three famous words this evening and said, "Here we go for the transfer for Jesper Lindstrom on a loan deal, a £2.5 million loan deal for the season, with Everton having an option to buy of 22.5 million to purchase the player at the end of next season." Again, I've said this so many times. It's a positive for me. I did an article which went live this morning about the kind of player that Jesper Lindstrom is. I think he's a powerful runner. He's a direct runner. He's good with the ball at his feet. He's lightning quick, and he does have an eye for goal. You look at his time at Eintracht Frankfurt in 22-23. That season, that was probably his most prolific in a top five league in Europe. So for me, there's definitely a player in there. I think it's a good thing to see him come on a loan deal. But also, if you want to get more of an insight as well, Connor's done a scouting report video with an Eintracht Frankfurt fan. This will give us a useful insight as well into the player, and I think genuinely it's something to get excited about. I think this is one of these players that he has a high ceiling, he's got a lot of potential, and I'm just excited to see him in Everton shirt. But make sure you check out my article and make sure you see Connor's scouting report video for a better insight into the player and what kind of player we can expect in an Everton shirt next season. But finally, we've got some takeover news, and Ben Jacobs has reported that Kevin Malone and his investor group are still interested in Everton, and they are seriously evaluating the Everton opportunity. This, for me, I think it's only positive after last week's news that the Freaking Group have pulled out and they won't be carrying on the process to take over Everton. I think any interest now is positive to see. This is all going to be speculation now for the next couple of weeks. I think we just need to let the process take its time, and hopefully we can come out the other end with a positive ownership situation. But let's see how this one develops. Obviously, it's good to hear that Kevin Malone is still interested and he is evaluating the Everton opportunity as per Ben Jacobs. But let's just see how this develops in the next few weeks or so, and let's see if we can hopefully get a positive, swift resolution to the takeover news and the takeover situation. Because as Evertonians, we don't want to go into another season with more problems in the boardroom, more problems, at the hierarchy of the club. We want to go in focusing fully on the football and making sure we're looking up the league rather than looking over our shoulders again. But that is all for me today from today's news headlines. Make sure you let me know on the Dominic Calvert-Lewin replacement. Are you excited about potentially stepping up our interest in Wilfried Gnonto? That for me is very positive headline news for today, and obviously the positive news that Jesper Lindstrom will be joining on a season-long loan. That is definitely a huge plus for our squad, and it injects some life into the squad where we might not have had it last season in terms of pace and power and direct running. So positive news today. Let's look forward and hopefully we can get some more positive news in the rest of this week and the weeks coming up to the end of the season. But that is all from me today. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll speak to you soon.